Hi there, it's Carol with Carolbcrafts. Today we'll be making this awesome Halloween decoration. It's project number 1 in my Ghoulish Goodies Create Kit. You can get the details on how you can get your Ghoulish Goodies Create Kit on my website www.carolbcrafts.com. It's available through October 15th with a qualifying purchase at stampinup.com using my current host code. So to make this Halloween decor, you're going to need an 8 by 10 or a 10 by 8 frame. They usually will go either way, the 8 by 10s or 10 by 8s. This doesn't have a glass in front of it. The glass is actually behind it to give it some support. So I'm hoping you'll join me in making this adorable Halloween decor. So the stamps we'll be using are the Ghoulish Goodies stamps, and we're going to be using the Ornate Frames dies. These are awesome frames from our last year's holiday catalog that were carried over, and I think that you will love these because they're so versatile. They give you lots of options for your labels and your sentiments on your cards and projects. You're going to need some Memento Tuxedo Black ink, and you're going to need some Stampin' blends. Dark Daffodil Delight, Dark Cajun Craze, Light Shaded Spruce, and Ivory. And of course you'll need your die cutting machine, and I'm going to be using my Stamparatus, but if you have a different stamping system you can use that as well. And of course you'll need your awesome kit. This is the Ghoulish Goodies kit. This is available through October 15th using my current host code, which is this code right here with a $60 retail purchase. That's before shipping and tax, $60 before shipping and tax. Use that host code at stampinup.com and get your free kit if you don't already have one. And if you have one, thank you for supporting me and purchasing with me as your demonstrator. So we'll be using this, mostly this is the die that we'll be using. So we'll be using this die and this die. So those two dies, we'll go ahead and set those aside. And I like to start off, we'll cut our cardstock and then we'll get out our stamps. So the cardstock that we're going to be using is our Pumpkin Pie Basic Black, Blackberry Bliss, and then you'll have a strip of Basic Black already cut to size. It's 2 3/8. Let me see. Looks like it's 2 1/8. 2 1/8 by 11, and it has adhesive on the back. So because we're going to be cutting out our little frames from this, and having the adhesive on the back will make it so much easier for us. And then of course our background is going to be our pumpkin pie. We'll need just a little bit of the black. It's actually, I'll show you what we're going to do with that in a minute. And then we got some Blackberry Bliss. So let's get our trimmers out. This is already cut to size, so we can put it over here. And here's our trimmer. Get it in camera. The Blackberry Bliss, it's going to be 2 5/8 by 10. So we're going to look at 2 5/8. That's a half. That's 5/8 right there. 2 5/8, and then we're just going to make this 10 right here. And I'm going to pull this out. And oh my goodness, look what happened. All right, I think that's easy enough to put back in. Oh yeah, it just snaps back in. All right, so I must have pulled too hard on it, huh? All right, so this, we'll probably end up trimming this. We're going to start out with 2 5/8 by 10. So we have that. We'll save this for later for another project. Now your black, we're going to go ahead and do 4 1/4 4 1/4. And then we're going to do 5 1/2. And that's what I like to do, so that you can keep track of what you need to use, and that way for later you'll have what you need. You won't cut in it the wrong way. So we're going to use this. So this we need 4 1/4 by 3 1/4. And so there's 3 1/4. We don't need this part. We'll put it with our other stuff. So we got 4 1/4 by 3 1/4. And our pumpkin pie, we want it 8 by 10. So there's our 8. And then we'll do our 10 this way. And that should be pretty good for our background. There we go. 8 by 10, the same size as our frame. And I think that's our cutting. Oh no, we got Very Vanilla. Yeah, Very Vanilla you should have in your stash at home. So here's our just regular Very Vanilla, 4 1/4. And now we're going to cut 3 1/4. So we need 4 of them, 4 1/4 by 3 1/4. So there's 3 1/4. There's 1. And 3 1/4 again. 2. 3 1/4 again. That's 3. One more. We know that this is 4 1/4 because that's just how it is. And then we will do 3 1/4 there. And that will give us our 4 pieces that are 4 1/4 by 3 1/4. And we'll be stamping on these. This we can put aside for another time. Now we are done with our cutting. So now we're ready for our scoring. So we'll put our stamping stuff aside and get our 8 by 10 piece of pumpkin pie. We're going to score this portrait, which means it's longer this way than this way. And we're going to start out with 1/2. And then we're going to take I guess we'll use the fat end, the bigger ball. We're going to do a 1/2 inch. And we're just going to put a texture in this. So we're going to go start at 1/2 inch and do 3/4 of up. So 3/4 up from 1/2 would be 1, 2, 3. 3/4. Then 3/4 more, that was 1 1/4. So 1, 2, 3. The next one would be 2. The next one would be 2 3/4. And then the next one would be 3 1/2. The next one would be 4 1/4. And then 5. 5 3/4. 6 1/2. 7 1/4. And then our 8. So now we're going to flip it over and we're going to do 1/8 up from each one of these score lines. So this was a 1/2. The first score line was a 1/2. So now we're going to do 5/8. And of course we've reversed it. Remember, we flipped it over. This one was 1 1/4. So this is going to be 1 3/8. This one was 2. So it's going to be 2 1/8. This is just going to give it like a board, like it's got boards behind it. 1 3/4. So 2 7/8 is our next score. 3 5/8 is our next score. 4 3/8 is our next score. 5 1/8. 5 7/8. 6 5/8. And 7 3/8. And what you're going to find, and you can use either side you want, whichever side is more pleasing to you. I think I'm going to use the side I started out on. I think I like that better. But you can see it has a nice like wood texture behind it, just doing that simple scoring. So we're done with our scoring tool. So we can set this aside. Next we're going to do our stamping. We are going to stamp the witch, the cat, the bat, and the bats, and this Dracula guy. We're going to stamp those 4 stamps on our very vanilla. Okay, so these are rubber stamps, so I'm not going to need, I'm just going to slip a random piece of a random stamp pad down there. Okay, so we don't need any extra padding or anything. We're just going to use our grid paper. Don't even really need that for this. Alright, so we're going to start out. Now you could do all of your stamping on one piece of Very Vanilla if you wanted to. It's up to you. I like to just kind of do it individually. So we got our Dracula, our witch, our cat, and our bat of trees. Tree of bats. Awesome stamp set. Ghoulish goodies. Great for Halloween. So we'll go ahead and let's do our Dracula first. Now remember, we're going to be cutting that, die cutting that with this die, so we don't want to get too close to the edge. Just make sure. I think I will kind of put it closer to this edge so that if I have to stamp another one, I can. So ink that up with Memento Tuxedo black ink, and I just put some ink in there, so I shouldn't have too much trouble with it, I hope. I've been working with dry ink pads and that's no fun. Oh, okay. Well, that one didn't come out all that great, did it? What did I do wrong? Maybe I didn't give it enough or gave it too much. Well, maybe I inked it too much. Do you think maybe? Let's just keep inking it up here. Eventually we'll get what we want. That's the good thing about the Stamparatus, is that it lets you do your thing. I'm inking up the spots that look like they need to fill in. Like right there by his head. What is that going on there by his head? I guess. Alright, there we go. That looks good. And I'm going to wipe that off. And then I'm just going to dry it off with my Stampin' Scrub matte thing. And that one's done. And it's good enough that I like it. So I'm going to stay with that one. Next up is going to be, let's do the witch next. Boy, these magnets are so strong. Here, witchy. Okay, there's the witch. And let's see if this one does any better. I'm going to rub it first and then tap. I just don't know. Maybe that ink I put in there was too much or not enough, or we'll just keep at it though till we get what we want. That's the good thing about the Stamparatus. It gives you lots of options, lots of chances to make it right. especially if you're a new stamper. And it can be, when you first start stamping, it can be a little discouraging if you don't get a perfect image on your first try or even second or third try. I remember when I first started stamping, it was a little discouraging to me because getting that perfect image was hard. And now they've got the Stamparatus. Easy peasy. Alright, so we got our witch and our kitty cat. Next, let's do our bats next here. Okay. And bats, it's going to go this way. Now you're going to stamp it like the tree branches going that way, but you're actually going to die cut it this way, and you'll see later what I'm talking about. Okay, let's get our bats and our moon and our tree branch. Yeah, I just think it must have been something I did when I re-inked my, because it is not behaving like it should. Okay, I think that's as good as I'm going to try. So I don't want to over stamp it. That can be just as bad as under stamping it sometimes. And then lastly, let me clean off my bats. The kitty cat is last. So we'll do our kitty cat. Such a cute little kitty, too. Not scary at all. I know black cats are supposed to be bad luck, but I don't think they are. I think they're just black cats. And they can be cute, just like this kitty here. One more. All right. I think, well, just a little cheeky. Where is it? This little cheek right here. There. Perfect. All right. That is our stamping. So let me finish cleaning off my kitty cat. And we'll do a little bit of coloring with our Stampin' Blends. Okay, put our Stamparatus away and put this where I don't lose it. Don't need that right now. So for our coloring, it's just a real little bit of coloring. Dark Daffodil Delight. Where is it? Dark Daffodil Delight. We're going to do our moon. What else is Daffodil Delight? Oh, the kitty's eyes. Try to only color where the very vanilla is. Don't try to get to the black on the sides because it can. I've had it smear. So don't go too heavy with it and don't try to avoid the black. The bubbles in the Witch's Brew. I'm just kind of dotting it in there. That's all we need for our dark daffodil. Now we're going to have our dark Cajun Craze. We're going to do the kitty cat's collar, not the little medallion hanging from it or pendant. It's just the collar and the witch's band on the witch's hat. It's going to be dark Cajun craze. And when I did the dark Daffodil Delight, I didn't color what was in the pot. I just colored the bubbles. So I need to color what was in the pot, bubbling. For Ivory, we're going to do the nose of the kitty cat. And it might not even, you might think that doesn't even show, but it does. It does. And also with the dark Cajun craze, there's my colors, the shirt of him. If yours, I used a lot of ink, so you can't even see the shirts, but if you can, that's what the dark Cajun craze is for. And then lights, what's this? Light shaded spruce for the little pendant here on the kitty cat. All right, that's all the coloring we have, guys. Now we're going to do our die cutting. Now, what you'll find is that we're going to cut this more of a vertical. Now the kitty cat's going to fit on there fine. This guy's going to be a tight fit. These guys are going to be even tighter fit. So what we're going to do, rather than try to guess, we're going to make like a stencil type of thing. We're going to take that 4 1/4 by 3 1/4 black, by basic black, and we're just going to die cut one of these. So let's bring in our die cut machine. And I've got my handy dandy, brand new to me, Stampin' cut and emboss machine. So we're going to, we got plate 1, plate 2, a plate 3 for the cutting, so that it cuts into that plate and doesn't mar the other plates. We're going to put our cardstock and our die there, and then our other plate 3 on top, and then run it through. It goes through so smoothly. It's only rocking because of my wobbly desk. So this is going to be our pattern. So we're going to go ahead, set this aside for a moment while we get our, so this is the, so you can see how this is going to be helpful for us to line up this. So you're not going to get all of that tree in there. You're probably going to want to get most of the, just this bat and the moon. And when you're happy with that, you're going to take a piece of tape, and I'm using the removable Scotch tape that I got from Office Depot. So that's going to stay in place. Now I'm going to just set this here, make sure that it's in the grooves there. You take it and push it around, you can make sure, you'll know that it's in there good. So we're going to run this through our die cut machine. Use the same sandwich that we used before. I usually cheat, but since I'm on camera, I'm going to do this the right way. So I don't want to teach you bad habits, but I usually take shortcuts. So 2 things about doing this way. 1, you get it cut perfectly where you want it. And 2, you don't get, if you cut it without the stencil, you'll get like a ridge around the edge, and we don't want that ridge. Okay, so that's why it's good to do it this way. And I'm going to try to reuse this removable tape here. And done with that. And I don't think I can reuse it. Well, maybe I can. We'll see. Move this aside so I can get in the camera. Now I'm just, well, this is handy, huh? I can just put this up for now so I can be in camera. And this is important because this guy is just, he's so tight fitting in here that I'm using his feet to make sure that it's level. You see his feet down here, his shoes. I think I'll put another piece there. So this, now I want to put it in the groove there so I know it's not moving around. I know it's in the groove. I'm going to tape it and put it on my, put this down, put this in, this in, move it back over here. Now I could do all of this off camera, but I want you to be able to see the awesomeness of this die cutting machine. And we're doing this together because it is a workshop. So let's see. We only got 2 more to go. So we got our guy. Let's see, we couldn't have done that without the mask, so, or the stencil, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what to call it. But maybe I can do it just like this. And I'm using this bottom part of the kitty to get it level. I'm just having to use all kinds of tape here. Okay, that's good. So I'm going to put this one through the die cutting machine. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. Now, we got 1 more to go. Got our kitty. Put her over there. I'm done with this. Now we're going to do the witch. And this one, I don't think we're going to get the kitty tail. Oh, you know what? Let's take this off here. It's easier to see. I think you can get just the tip of their tail and her, the very tip of her cape. Okay, and put this in. Run it through. Now we have all 4 of our images that we need. So this is where our images are going to go. Now we need to cut the black frame that's going to go behind it. And that's where this comes in. But I think before we do that, we're going to cut our rich razzleberry. Our die cut, our rich razzleberry. And let me make sure I'm in camera here for this. So we know that, well, first of all, we don't know for sure how, this is 10 10 inches wide, but we don't know that we need it 10 inches wide. So what we're going to have to do to figure that out is get our frame. Even though it's an 8 by 10 frame, you don't actually see all 8 by 10. Decided which one did I like better. I think I like this one better. All right, I'm going to put that in. If it is a little too big, you might have to cut it off. It looks like it's puckering, so I'm probably going to have to shave off just a little bit, a tiny, tiny bit. You might have to do the same. So even though it's an 8 by 10 frame and I cut it 8 by 10, you know, there's always that. Try to get that out of the way. Maybe I'll move this away for now till we get this fitted to this frame. All right, so I decided it was a little too wide this way. It needs to have just a little bit shaved off, and I'm talking a tiny bit, not much at all. Like this much here. Like I said, not much at all. Let me see how it fits in there now. If it still puckers. It fits in there pretty good. Yeah, it's not puckering now, so if it's puckering at all, it's on the other side. So maybe I'll trim this side a little bit too. Get my frame out of the way. Nothing's ever easy. This is going to be tiny, tiny bit as well. Just the tiniest little bit. Like that. Makes a big difference though. Alright, now let me try it in the frame. And you'll have to work with yours individual frame that you have to see which you know. Oh yeah, now it drops, it just drops in there. But let me get, so if it came with anything else, put it behind here, like a piece of chipboard or anything. Put it behind here so that your frame will fit tightly. Then put your glass, and then put your frame backing in. And I'm done with my cutter. I guess I can get rid of that. All right, so maybe it will fit better this way. Let's see. Oh yeah, I think that's the way it's supposed to fit. So once you get it down like that, you're going to turn these things, these little clips, or however yours goes together, and then you're going to flip it over, and that gives you kind of like your canvas. So you can see that not all of your 8 by 10 shows. This is probably more like 9.5. So even though we cut this at 10, we're going to have to trim it to fit in between. And I suggest you do it a little at a time. I'm going to take a pencil and I'm going to mark where I think it might be, right here, but we'll see. It might not be enough. It's better to do it a little at a time than too much, and then you'll be sad because it'll be too short. But even if it's too short, it won't be that short. All right, so there's where I cut it, where my mark was. This should go right in the middle. Let's see if it puckers. See, it's a little bit, it's puckering, so it needs a little bit more. And like I said, it's better to take less than more. I'm going to just shave that really, really small. Can hardly even see it. Let me try it now. Still a little bit too much. I'm going to shave off another tiny, 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 tiny bit. That might be too much, but we'll see. We will see. Yeah, it is a little bit too much, but I'm just going to put a little bit of on the edge. There'll be just a tiny, tiny bit showing. It's not going to be a big deal. All right, so what we need to do now is to cut this. Let's measure it. And I guess we can put this aside for now. This is 9.5, which is pretty much what I figured it would be. Your frame might be different. So whatever yours is, you're going to find your half point, which for me, 9.5 would be 4 3/4. That's my half. I'm going to mark that 4 3/4 on both sides. That tells me where my center is. So we might have to do a little math now. So we got 4 3/4. Now we need to divide this into 4 sections for each one of our, we're going to die cut in each section one of these frames. And I can see I still have some from when I did this before. Okay, so if you might need to get a calculator out. 4 3/4 divided by 2 would be, okay, so for me it's going to be 2 3/8. So I'm going to mark 2 3/8 from the edge here. And do the same on the other side, 2 3/8. So for me, with my particular frame, half is 4 3/4, and then 1/4 is half of that, which is 2 3/8. So I got 2 3/8, 4 3/4. This one is 7 1/8, but I measured from this edge. So what I want to do now is I want to make sure this is going to die cut these, and I want to make sure that they're centered. So I want them centered in between, like for this one, I want it centered in between here, and it might help to block it off where those marks are. Put something there to give you an idea, a more visual idea of what you're working with. And I'm just going to center it and level it there. I'm going to take my tape and put it in place right there. I think that's centered. Make sure it's level. Whoops. Well, I'll do that again. Maybe I will I can tape it on the inside because I'm not going to use the inside. That way I won't have to worry about that happening again. There. That looks good. So this is in the center of this 1/4 of this Blackberry Bliss. And I'm going to run that through my machine. Just like this. And I'm going to run it this way, and then I'm going to run it back, because these, in fact, I might do it a couple times, just because this particular die has some really fine detail. And I do not want to do a partial cut. So I'm going to use my handy dandy take your pick tool die brush and do this part of it. Get that all out. Now we're not going to be using this. You could probably use that for something else if you want to, if you can. If your tape doesn't like rip it, you could use that for another project. But I won't be using that right now. I'm going to make sure I get all of the pieces out of my die, because this is what I'm going to be using. So now let me bring in another one of these. These are real helpful. So I'm going to block off where those marks are, and that's going to help me to center this perfectly. Get another piece of tape. I'm going to run this through my machine. Now I'm probably going to fast forward because I don't want you to have to wait while I do this with my machine every time. And so I've cut that one out, making progress. We got 1, 2, and get this out of my die. I'm going to clean my die out, get it ready for the next cut. There we go. So here are my marks for my next one. I have these marks and I have these marks. Going to center it in between. Get my tape and tape it. Run it through my machine. And then lastly, I'm just going to use one to mark off those marks, and I'm going to put this in the center. Use my tape, run that through my machine. All right, and now we have, let me clean my die off. This is going to go, and then what we're going to do now is take our black that has the adhesive on the back, and we're going to cut 1, 2, 3, 4, and they're going to fit inside there. So let's go ahead and do that. And again, I'm going to fast forward, and don't forget to go back and forth twice. I think I'll change my plate around here. So now we are going to keep this part this time, so I'm going to be careful with it. We're going to put something over the front where so if the tape kind of leaves a mess, it'll be fine, but try not to make too big of a mess with it. Okay, I get my die brush out. These might be a little harder to get out. If you can't get them out with the die brush, then just poke them out with your pointy tool here. Okay, that looks good. And then if you have some on this, you can either use your gently use that tool, or you can. So what's going to happen is, you can see it's sticky on the back. We haven't removed the backing yet, but when we do, it's going to become like a sticker. I'm probably off camera, aren't I? Sorry. All right, do I have all my little thingies? So we're going to do all 4 of those. So let's just do those. This one I don't even think I'm going to use tape. Okay, that's all the die cutting that we need to do. And I think that was enough. Enough die cutting. So let's get to our goodie bag. You have a couple of goodie bags in here. You have one that has some die cuts and one that has some ribbons and other things. So let's go to the one with ribbon and find our mesh, our metallic mesh ribbon. You'll have 2 pieces that are 10 inches and 1 piece that's 8. We don't need the 8-inch, so we can put that back in there. So let's go that far, and then out of here we need a bat, one of the shiny bats. Let's see. You should have 2 shiny bats in there, made with the black glitter. So we just need 1 of the glitter bats, the big ones. There's 2 big ones, 2 medium or small ones. So we got our big glitter bat out of there. Okay, so let's bring in this, and let's bring in our mesh ribbon. And what we want to do is we want to adhere this mesh ribbon here, but we don't want it, and you don't have to worry about it showing underneath, because we're going to put these there, so it's not going to show as much as you think. So let's see, how are we going to put that on? I hope I was in camera when I showed you that. Let's see, how about, do we want to use, let's use glue dots. Glue dots are always a go-to for stuff like this. So I know which one is my front because it still has the marks on it, which I'm going to have to take off, obviously. So I'm going to put a glue dot here, a glue dot here, and it's near the edge. I'm putting it right here near the edge, kind of right beneath those marks that I made. And 1 here. So you can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm just going to take my ribbon and poke it in there in those glue dots, and we know that it will hold it, right? Because it does. That's what it does, and it does it so well. It sticks out a little bit. We're not going to worry about that yet till we get both of them on there. So let's do the other side. 1, 2, come on, 3, 4, and 5. All right, so we got our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, sticking it down in there, 2, 3, 4. Don't let it get caught up in these things here, because the line just did. Be gentle if you take it out, because it might rip them. Only on camera, right? I couldn't have done that if I'd wanted to. If I had tried, I couldn't have done that. And I think I might just snip that. Snippity snip. Not the purple, I'm going to snip the silver. There. Ha ha, I outsmarted it. Now, while I got my scissors out, I'm going to go ahead and trim it even with the purple, the Blackberry Bliss. All right. Now we know that that's going to go in the center, and it's going to go, yeah, right in the center. Now you may want to trim it some, I don't know, or scrunch it up some. I'm thinking I might have trimmed mine a little. Let's see what it's going to look like. Make sure that you have your frame so that this is going to sit up like that. You could always redo it if you needed to, but you know, just want to make sure that we have room for everything without going to have our bat there. Let's go ahead and get our Happy Halloween. And these have the backing on it too. They're stickers for you. So let's just dump this out. Get our Happy Halloween. Happy goes up here. I cannot pick anything up with my hands for some reason. H-A. These are from the Playful Patterns bundle. Playful Alphabet, I think is what it's called. I think. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll put it on the screen for you. Awesome alphabet, good size for cards or decor, and very reasonably priced too, I think, for a complete alphabet. So the dies, the bats and everything were cut with the Halloween Magic dies. All right, so the reason we did that was to see if we needed to trim our, and I do think I do want to trim it because it's a little bit wider than that. Oh yeah, we definitely want to trim it. And so I'm taking about 1/4 of an inch off. And don't worry, it actually makes it look more like a spider web than to have that perfect edge to it. If it had a perfect edge, that is. So I'm just taking about 1/4 of an inch off of both sides. There. That looks even more believable. So how are we going to put that on? I'm thinking glue dots, but I'm actually thinking more glue because I want it to be down flat. So I'm going to take my glue. We have these perfect corners here. It really lends itself to glue, as you can see. Just don't go crazy with it. Okay, hopefully that's not crazy with it. Try not to get my fingers. So put it in the center. And it doesn't have to be exact center. The lines in the cardstock will help you to line it up more evenly. And press it down. Hold it down while it dries. If you get if any oozes out, like I used too much and it's oozing, it will dry. You can remove it with an eraser, a clean eraser. And I'm getting my hands all gooey here. So I'm just going to keep pushing that down till it's good and dry. I don't want it to pucker. All right. Now the fun part is that we're going to these are just stickers, so aren't you glad that I did this for you and made these stickers so you don't have to mess with glue with these? Just be careful taking the backing off. And it's going to fit right in there. Just kind of go around like a clock in clockwise, pushing it down, and it should fit in there perfectly. Now we're going to get our little things that we did. The way I did them, let's see, I did the witch over here. Oops, I die cut this one wrong. Uh-oh. Oh no, I didn't. Woo, heart attack. Okay, so we got the witch, the cat, the bats, and Dracula right there. So I'm going to put that on with some glue. Okay, our bat, we need to do something with him first. So let's get out our bag with our ribbon and so forth. Go ahead and get your iridescent pearls out. That's these guys right here. Beautiful iridescent pearls that go with the suite. And your mini, the smallest rhinestones, what are they called? Rhinestone jewels, I think. Now these are going to be the bat's eyes. So I'm missing one. I can see them. It's probably in my bag. We only need two. The bat's eyes. Oh yeah, want to use your bullet tip. Dark Cajun Craze for your bat's eyes. Gonna color these. So I'm gonna bring in my tool here, my take your pick tool, pick that up, hopefully. I'm gonna put it here where his eyes would be, or her eyes, whichever. Make sure they're not cross-eyed. We don't want a cross-eyed bat. Oh, those are so cute. All right, so we're done with our rhinestones. We can put those back in. Now, let me see. So what else you're going to need from your little bag of goodies is you're going to need 5 of the black mini dimensionals. We're going to put, well, if you can get them out of there, 5 of the black mini dimensionals. And I'm just going to put one in the center, and then one in the center of the wings, and then one at the tip of the wings, like so. And that should give you plenty of support. Looks like I got some hitchhikers here. That's all right. Added support. Okay, so this guy's going to go in the corner, just like so. So it's about 1/4 of an inch from the top, this wing, and this is about 1/4 of an inch from the side. There you go. There's your bat. Now we're going to do Happy Halloween, and there's really no right or wrong way to do that. Just however you want. I've got to get my fingers, something on my fingers, or I'm not going to be able to move these guys around. So see how I could do that happy like that? Doesn't have to be straight. Now for the sake of time, I'm going to do my Happy Halloween, and then I will be back with the rest of our project. Alrighty, when you've got your Happy Halloween where you like it, I like mine a little, you know, not straight across, but if you like yours straight across, you can always use these lines here in the paper in the cardstock. So the last thing we have to do is to put some small, some of the iridescent pearls on here. And it looks like I did 2, 2, 2, 1, and 1. So that's what we're going to do. And there's eight larger ones on the end here. These are the 8 larger ones, and then you've got like 20 smaller ones. Be sure to use the smaller ones because you need the larger ones for other projects. So I'm going to bring this in a little bit closer to me. And here in the center, I'm going to put these two. Whoops, that's not in the center. This just adds a little something extra. And then one over here in this corner and one over here in this one. And guess what, guys? We are done. Well, almost. I don't want that one quite so close to the edge. That's our project. I think this is a darling decor that you can put in your entry hall or anywhere that you want on a bookshelf. And it is just so darling and not too hard to make, just timely, just time consuming. But I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to use this host code if you haven't already, if you're just watching, to get your free Ghoulish Goodies kit, or if you're watching this after October 15th, check my website out, www.carolbcrafts.com, to see what current kit I'm offering. Thanks for watching. Bye now.